Welcome back to your TV6 Morning News. Even though we are in January and it's very cold outside, it's not too early to start thinking about gardening. You can do it all year round. Today we're going to learn more about that from Northern Hydroponics in Marquette Township, hearing what they're doing during the off-season, if you want to call it that, to keep the grow cycle fresh. TV6's Rick Tarsitano is there and joins us now live with more. Rick?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, it's really cold outside, but that doesn't mean that gardening has to stop. I'm joined now by Ryan Hammack. He's one of the owners at Northern Hydroponics on US 41 in Marquette, and we wanted to know a little bit about how you got started in this whole industry.
Yeah, a couple years back, basically started doing some what is called window gardening or urban gardening, and I started doing it hydroponically. I actually grew some tomatoes in the middle of December. Basically, it's kind of like these plants up here. These are also grown hydroponically. We have a couple pepper plants, hot pepper plant. You can see a few blossoms and peppers here. But basically, I got started and, did a little bit of window gardening and kind of expanded into, starting things inside and moving it out to my side of my house and the south side of my house. And, it really kind of escalated from there and basically had the idea here in the Upper Peninsula. We have such a short growing season. There's we definitely have to look for alternative methods to continue that growing season. So that's kind of how it got started.
Okay. And some people might be looking at this and thinking, oh, we can get started gardening now. You've seen all the supplies behind us and things like that. So what's one thing that people can do in what I would consider to be the off-season, correct?
Correct. I mean, like you said, it's -9 out. It's freezing, and yet I'm still able to grow peppers here. Basically, it's a good, if you had extra space, we can definitely get you set up that way. Like we were talking earlier, it's very custom, but could definitely get some things going, growing in your window, maybe small lights, especially, like I said, starting things early, maybe, come March or something, start getting things ready to move outside because we do have a shorter growing season.
Okay. And for when you're talking about getting things started, getting the seeds growing a little bit beforehand might give you an advantage come March, right?
Yeah, especially if you got them started, you're going to have a much more robust plant. Maybe it'll avoid the stress, especially you can move it out after a frost. Some people try and start the seeds out early. We get one of those weird days here in the Upper Peninsula. It frosts over, you could lose everything. So it definitely helps to start something indoors or continue to do it year round if you have the space or, an extra window or something.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk to them a little bit more when we come back about how you can get your indoor garden started. They have a little bit of a setup here, and they're growing various variety of foods and vegetables. What are you guys growing over there?
We have lettuce, basil, and a couple of pepper plants, really small pepper plants in the back. But that was done all artificially.
Okay.
For instance, these were all done just in a window, no artificial light.
All right. So there is potential for gardening in the winter. When we come back, we'll talk to you about how to get that custom fitted when you come in here so you can get started and shake off the cold weather with a little bit of fresh produce. But for now, we'll go back to the studio to you guys.
A great way to, exactly what you said, shake off the cold weather with us, and that feels like a summer thing, but it doesn't have to be, I guess.
That's right. All right, thanks, Rick. And good morning, everyone. It's 6:38, 5:38 Central Time on a very cold Tuesday morning. Now, we've already heard a little bit about what Northern Hydroponics does to keep their plants thriving all year round, but now what about for you? What can you do to join in to get into winter gardening? So let's head back to Marquette to find out how to get that done. We have Rick Tarsitano joining us this morning. Rick?
Yeah, good morning, guys. We already took a look at some of the things that they've been doing. We looked at some potted plants that are getting grown in the window here, but we wanted to show you an indoor garden and how that can help you during the off season. So right now I'm joined by Stosh, Wasik, one of the founders of Northern Hydroponics, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about getting that indoor garden started. When people want to come in and they ask you guys how to get started, what do you tell them? What are some of the things that you take into consideration?
Well, the first couple of things we take into consideration would be the growing medium, whether they want to grow in soil, cocoa, or hydroponically, meaning water, and then the amount of space that they have to work with, whether it just be like a windowsill or a bedroom or a sunroom in their house, and then also lighting, whether they have great lighting in their home or whether they want to go with artificial lighting or the natural sunlight that just pokes through the window
Okay.
in the winter.
And when we take a look at here, you guys have some cabbage and things like that growing. Is there anything that people are limited to in terms of what they can grow, flowers, things of that nature?
Oh, no, you're pretty much unlimited to grow anything indoors. If anything, you have the ability to grow more than what you do normally in the UP, because the UP is restricted to more of like foreign plants and tropical plants, where as indoors you can put them in an optimal environment to where they could thrive along with what you normally see growing up here with the lettuce, the basil, tomatoes, peppers, flowers.
Okay. And just looking here, basically, can you tell us a little bit about this setup and what you would do if somebody came in and tell them how they would get theirs started?
Well, this setup right here is known as a deep water culture setup, and it's set up so that the plants float on water, and they're in a nutrient-rich solution. The water has nutrients in it, so if the plants need to eat, they can eat. If they need a drink, they're floating in water, and then the water is also being aerated by an air pump, so it oxygenates the water so they can breathe, and it puts them in optimal solution. It doesn't restrict the roots to anything, like they might run into a hard spot in soil. So it's extremely effective, and it makes it easier for growing indoors.
Okay, so it's almost better because you have more potential yield and things can stay consistent. You control those different factors. One thing I'm noticing is there's a lot of water. So can you talk a little bit about what kind of maintenance comes into play when you're dealing with a setup like this?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. In this setup, this particular setup, there is quite a bit of water in this tray that we have set up, and there's not too much maintenance. It's really just changing the water once every week or 10 days, and then adding new nutrients to it, pHing the water, make sure it's balanced so that it's not going to harm the plants, and then basically just let it go. It's not too much work.
Okay, and I know we talked a little bit about the seed starting before. Is there something that you can do here where it's start to finish? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We have all sorts of things, like whether you want to start in soil or hydroponically, but we have like little propagation mats and humidity domes, everything you need for starting seeds. And then once they get established enough, then we can put them in to another medium like this.
Huh. Great. Well, I know that a lot of people come in here and they kind of ask, about different soils and things like that, but they can also instruct you on how to get your own indoor garden started. You can come visit their store on US 41. Their store hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sunday, 12 to 4, 228-GROW if you'd like to call them, or they have a Facebook page for Northern Hydroponics. Come in and see Stosh and Ryan, and they'll try to get you set up to the best of their abilities. For now, though, we'll go back to the studio. You guys have any questions for Stosh?
I do. If you could ask Stosh, some people don't have a whole lot of space, so is this something like, can you get like a smaller unit that you can grow multiple different plants on, or does this take a lot of space in order to do this type of indoor gardening?
If there's somebody who comes in and they have a limited amount of space, they don't have this 6x4 area, what's the smallest unit that they can get started with?
It could be anything to the size of like a 12-ounce cup you could get started with. If you wanted to grow like a little basil plant in a dorm room, like you could get away with something like that. You can do so much with so little space. There's no really restrictions on like how much you can do in like a little amount of space.
Okay. So it looks like space is not an issue. So if you have something as small as a cup, back to the days of science class, you can get started. Stosh, thank you so much for letting us in this morning. And make sure you come in to stop in and see him so you can get your garden growing a little bit sooner than you might expect. Back to you guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Rick. Now we can get that little heat feel going for us, no matter how cold it is out there.